Hello and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. Next week, President Joe Biden will travel to Poland to rally allies 1 year after Russia's assault on Ukraine began. Biden's decision not to visit Ukraine since the war broke out has drawn scrutiny. Will he or won't he? The U.S. president's Poland visit is scheduled for the 20th to the 22nd of February. It remains unclear whether Biden might attempt a visit to Ukraine, as many other Western leaders and members of Congress have done. The U.S. president aims to sustain a coalition that has supported Kiev's defenses. The visit comes as polling in the U.S. and abroad suggests waning support for maintaining billions of dollars worth of assistance for Ukraine. The White House said that Biden will make clear that additional security assistance and aid will be coming from the U.S. Biden visited Poland just weeks after the war began on the 24th of February last year. He delivered a forceful case for supporting Ukraine's defense in front of Warsaw's iconic royal castle. At the time, Biden said Putin cannot remain in power, though the White House swiftly backed off what initially seemed to be a call for a regime change in Moscow. White House officials have highlighted the security challenges raised by a potential visit by a U.S. president to a country under invasion by nuclear-armed Russia. In May last year, here's what the White House press secretary said.
As you know, our objective is to reopen the embassy, to have our diplomats back there, not just traveling back and forth, but present in the country. And I know the president would love to visit Ukraine, but no plans in the works at this point.
Various heads of state and top dignitaries have visited Ukraine. The prime ministers of Poland, the Czech Republic and Slovenia were the first Western leaders to visit Ukraine. Presidents from Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania and Poland followed suit. World leaders who have visited Ukraine include French President Macron, German Chancellor Scholz and Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau. Former British and Italian Prime Ministers Boris Johnson and Mario Draghi also visited the war-torn nation. Last year, the U.S. First Lady briefly crossed the Ukrainian border. Jill Biden met her counterpart, the Ukrainian First Lady Olena Zelenska, in the latter's first public event since the war began. But the equation becomes more complex when it comes to Joe Biden visiting Kiev. Besides security concerns, the visit may lead to a sharp uptick in diplomatic tensions between Washington and Moscow. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has repeatedly accused the U.S. of waging a proxy war. The Kremlin says NATO is using Ukraine as a battering ram against the Russian state. In 2013, Victoria Nuland, then the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State, visited Independence Square in Kiev and handed food to pro-European Union activists. Now, this was the time when the Obama administration was upping pressure on Ukraine's President Viktor Yanukovych, and it is a perceived sphere of influence. The Kremlin saw the events as interference by Washington. The West does not want a direct confrontation with Moscow. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Elizabeth Bro. She is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Elizabeth, thank you for being with us. Now, we know that President Biden is expected to visit Poland, but the big question, will he or won't he be visiting Kiev? And what would the ramifications of this kind of visit be?
Well, it is important in itself that he's visiting Poland, which has been really the frontline state in this war. It has received more Ukrainian refugees than any other country. It's also sort of a logistics hub for the Western assistance, military assistance being delivered to Ukraine. And indeed, it's also the hub to which Western politicians go when they want to visit Ukraine, because they get on the train in Poland, then travel by train. If Biden has plans to go to Ukraine, we can be certain that nothing would be revealed until he's already in Ukraine out of security considerations. I think, though, that it's unlikely, simply because even traveling to Poland from Washington is a long journey, and then you have that additional long train journey, and Biden is obviously a man much in demand, and he's also not the youngest man anymore. So I think for those practical reasons, it's unlikely.
Right, and the U.S. and the White House, in terms of the security concerns that you've mentioned, Ukraine at the moment is a war ground with missiles and drones raining down from the skies. What would the US's, would they want their commander-in-chief in Ukraine?
We have seen many other heads of government visiting, most recently, just a few hours ago, the Swedish prime minister. So every country is clearly concerned, every country is self-evidently concerned about the security of their leaders. So if Ukraine is good enough for the prime minister of Sweden, the prime minister of the chancellor of Germany, President Macron of France, and so forth, it's clearly safe enough for Biden as well. But then, that being said, the United States is the most iconic ally or the most important ally of Ukraine in this war. So there are even more important security considerations for Biden, especially now as the war seems to be intensifying once again. So for that reason, I think it is unlikely that he would visit. That doesn't mean that he couldn't visit parts in Western Ukraine, closer to Poland. We have been talking about Kyiv until now for many visits with conversations with Ukraine's leaders. But perhaps the Americans will surprise us, the US government will surprise us, and Biden may step across the border into the westernmost part of Western Ukraine.
Absolutely. Elizabeth, thank you very much for your valued input today. WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.